Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Music Weekly, the show where I give you guys the top 5 Prog news headlines and the top 5 Prog singles for the week, and give you updates on the channel and what's happening here on Nathan on Shuffle. It's May 10th, 2024, and I've got an expanded list today. Last weekend, I did a bit of a special in place of this show. It was more talking about the Cruise to the Edge lineup and my thoughts and impressions about it and how in love I am with all the bands that are coming aboard the cruise. So check that out if you haven't yet, if you're interested in the Prog cruise and a description of each of the different bands that are going to be playing on it. But today I'm back to the traditional structure, but I'm actually expanding it to 10 Prog news items and 10 Prog singles to share with you today. But they're fairly quick hits, as I like to say. You know, these will be pretty quick news items that I'll go through, so it should still be a fairly normal length show, I would imagine. So, but yeah, if you haven't subscribed yet, I would always encourage that. It always helps the channel, and I'm grateful for any new subscribers who've come on recently. And let's dive into the news. Let's get into what's happening. First Prog news headline, I like to talk about the new releases for the week, and this week has a couple of really interesting ones. 2 from Inside Out. We have the Tangents new record, To Follow Polaris, which I did a review of this week. A fantastic album from Andy Tillison, who did all of the music this time around. He did all the instruments. He did everything himself, so really impressive that he's able to make such a full Tangent sound just by himself without the other musicians involved, and it doesn't suffer in quality at all from it. I think it's one of their strongest releases, and if you like traditional progressive rock with maybe some like Canterbury and jazz influences thrown in the mix, some epic songs, some really interesting acerbic political themed lyrics, all of that stuff is wrapped into a neat little bow, and it's just a fantastic album that I recommend to you guys. The other release from Inside Out is Mandoki Soulmates, called A Memory of Our Future. This is an amalgamation of different styles as well. This is really brought together by Leslie Mandoki, who founded this collective in 1992, and it brings together a lot of different musicians like Al Di Meoli, Mike Stern, Randy Brecker, Bill Evans. We've got Simon Phillips in the mix, just a whole bunch of different people performing on this. I believe Ian Anderson is part of the mixture here involved, and there's, you know, a combination of prog and jazz and world music and just a lot of different music to really enjoy from that collective. So, and then on the other side, we've got Agusa and their album Noir. This is a Swedish prog group that does mostly, you know, I'd say mostly instrumental prog, sometimes spoken in their native tongue. This is more of like a soundtrack to a film, I believe, that came out called Malmo Noir. So different kind of flavor, different feel to it perhaps, but still has some of that traditional folk prog kind of elements that they're known for. So thought I'd mention that as another notable release. So those are some of the notable prog releases coming out this week. Let me know in the comments any other releases that you're excited about that are coming out or that have come out this week. This is interesting news. Item number 2, Yes legend John Anderson and the band Geeks are announcing a new album called True. They've been touring a lot. Had a successful 2023 tour. It seems like this partnership between John Anderson and the band Geeks is really fruitful, and they enjoy working together. So they're working on an album called True, which is going to be released on August 23rd by Frontiers Music. So should be really interesting to see what they do in terms of original music. I'm assuming it's going to be in the style of Yes and John Anderson's solo stuff and all of that. But we'll see what actually comes from this partnership, and I'm excited. I'll definitely be giving that album a listen and be giving my thoughts on it, I'm sure. And they're also doing a summer leg of their tour this year, starting May 30th in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and touring across the United States here. Should be an interesting way to experience them and to hear some classic Yes material. Item number 3, Nightwish have announced their long-awaited new album, Yesterwynde. This is a Finnish symphonic metal group, female-fronted. Of course, Flor Jansen is their lead singer at the moment, and they've had a really long, illustrious career, probably the premier symphonic metal band, I would say, of the last several years, for a long time here. So this release will come out September 20th via Nuclear Blast. They're going to have a lead single come out called Perfume of the Timeless, coming out May 21st. And so this is coming off the heels of their 2020 album, A Human Nature. And this should be an interesting album. It sounds like they're not going to tour this album. They've decided to take a little bit of a break from touring, probably partially because of Flor Jansen, just recently had some personal things going on in her life. And gave birth to a child in October 2023. So different various reasons, but it should be an exciting, their 10th album, bringing back big symphony orchestra, and it should be an exciting release to check out as Nightwish fans. So I wanted to point that one to everybody's attention. Item number 4, IQ announced the IQ Weekender 2024 4-disc box set. They've announced this archive collection release. Notable neo-prog band. They're going to be on that Cruise to the Edge lineup, so I talked about them a little bit last week. And this should be a really cool release. After the success of their 2 Weekender shows earlier this year, they've put together this archive collection release featuring recordings of both nights from that Weekender show. So should be really cool. 4 CDs presented in 2 6-panel digi sleeves with a 24-page booklet. Should be a really cool experience for those that are into IQ and just classic, wonderful neo-prog. Pattern Seeking Animals, they're part of news item number 5. They signed a new record deal with GEP. They were previously with Inside Out and had a 4-album deal there where they released some really notable records. Pattern Seeking Animals is a conglomerate of different members from Spock's Beard past and present. We've got Ted Leonard and Dave Maros, John Baghold, who has written a lot of material for the newer iteration of Spock's Beard, and also their previous drummer, Jimmy Keegan. So this is going to be really cool to see them on a new label, see if this sparks anything a little bit different in their sound, who knows. And it sounds like they'll have a new album coming out later this year, so we'll see how that goes. I'm a big fan of the group, and to me this is kind of them carrying the torch for Spock's Beard style music, since we haven't really gotten a pure Spock's Beard new album in quite some time since Noise Floor. So, and I'm not sure if they're really going to be working on one anytime soon. So this is kind of the stand-in for Spock's Beard at the moment, and I really like what they do. I think John Baghold is an incredible writer and has written some really interesting things for this collective. Item number 6, Focus, Dutch prog legends. They're releasing their 12th album number 12 in July 5th on Spirit of Unicorn Music. Their first new studio recording for 6 years. So that's a notable release coming up. They're also joining the new Asia lineup that I mentioned in a previous show on a live tour. So we'll see if they include any of these new songs from this album, but Focus are one of the premier Dutch prog bands from back in the 70s and are fantastic, so it's cool to see that they'll be releasing another album, and the album art is really cool as well, kind of that classic prog style, like Roger Dean style artwork. So really cool and exciting to see what they come up with as a collective. We've got some David Gilmour news. He did announce his upcoming solo album that I mentioned already on my New Music Weekly show, but he's also talking about some new live dates. He's going to be performing in the UK, his first UK live shows in 8 years, with a 6-night run at London's prestigious Royal Albert Hall in October. So that should be really cool. And then he also added some dates, playing 6 nights at Rome's legendary Chariot Racing Stadium Circus Maximus in September and October, his first Italian shows in 8 years. So seems like there's a bit of a ramp up to David Gilmour's solo release and some live dates around it. Should be a really cool experience if you're a David Gilmour fan, someone who I don't need to really explain who that is, legendary guitarist for Pink Floyd and has done some really cool solo work as well, so it should be cool to see what he has up his sleeve. Marillion announced dates for 8 weekend events in 2025, so that's something to look up. The 8 events will take place at Port Zealand, Montreal, Paris, Girona, Padua, Leicester, and Berlin. So different dates all throughout March and April and May and June of next year. A lot of people speculate that that's probably why they're not going to be on board next year's Cruise to the Edge, because they're focusing on these weekend events, which all Marillion fans have told me are just fantastic and fabulous. And I'll also be mentioning in the Prog singles list that they have a new live release coming out as well, and have released a track from it to kind of give a flavor of what to expect with that. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Item number 9, Jadis is to release their first new album in 8 years this June. This is a UK prog rock group. Their album will be called More Questions Than Answers, coming out on June 6th. Should be cool. It's a follow-up to their 2016 album, No Fear of Looking Down. So a band that I've felt good about in the past, that I like their previous material, so excited to see what they come up with on their new record. And then Threshold as the final quick hit here item. Threshold are reissuing their back catalog on vinyl and CD. I believe the first 2 albums are available now for pre-order. 1993's Wounded Land and the following year's Psychedelicatessen, newly remixed and remastered on both vinyl and CD format on July 5th. And it seems like this is going to spark a new reissues campaign for the band. Just a premier UK prog metal group. The Wounded Land record is the first to feature singer Damian Wilson, who's fronted the band on 3 occasions. And the second record is they recruited Glenn Morgan to take over in that duty. So it should be really interesting. And the band also has a career-spanning Threshold Through Time tour across Europe this October. So a lot of interesting things going on for the band Threshold. Now into the Prog singles list, which is also expanded. We have The Tangents, The Fine Line from their new album. This is a fantastic track. Definitely check it out. Really cool video to accompany it. All of these have YouTube videos linked in the description if you want to check out these different tracks. Second, we have Mandoki Soulmates with A Memory of My Future to check out from their new release that just came out that I mentioned. Simone Simons has a new track called Eterna. This is from the upcoming debut solo album Vermilion, and it's a bit of a collaboration with Arion, or with Arjen Lucassen, who fronts Arion. So this should be a really cool collaboration. Of course, Simone is known for being the Dutch symphonic metal vocalist for Epica, I believe, is the main project that she's known for. And this should be a combination of like that feel of Epica and Arion, this kind of great symphonic metal with prog influences and flourishes. The track is really fantastic, so definitely check that out if you're interested in that. Like I mentioned above, Marillion, The Crow and the Nightingale Live is a taste of their upcoming live release An Hour Before It's Dark, live in Port Zealand 2023, which is due out on June 21st. So a beautiful track with really beautiful, poignant lyrics. Really cool to check this out. The band is fantastic in a live setting. I saw them on Cruise to the Edge, and now I know that they really bring out the emotion and the power in their live performances. Some interesting ones here. Hasse Froberg and the Musical Companion have a track called Once in a Lifetime, which is from their upcoming Eternal Snapshots album. Hasse Froberg is lead singer of Flower Kings, one of the main singers of Flower Kings, also plays some guitar and other things. Wonderful vocalist, wonderful player, just a really creative mind, and this is kind of his separate side project that's done several albums that have all been excellent. So that'll be something I cover in the upcoming months. The album comes out in June, so I'm sure I'll be talking about it. Richard Henshaw of Haken fame released a new track called Yang from his upcoming EP called Mew Volume 1, coming out June 7th. Just really great guitar playing, in that kind of instrumental style. Very much a cool piece to listen to with some maybe jazz style influences, I'd say. Circuline and their track All was just released. This is almost becoming somewhat of a super group of musicians. We've got Dave Bainbridge on guitar and Kairos keyboard player Shelby Logan Warren on bass, joining along their typical lineup. And this is one of the more progressive songs on their upcoming record, which is coming out September 20th, called Core. So check it out. This is a really cool track. I really enjoyed it, and there's some cool instrumental moments that really showcase some great prog playing. Evergrey, the talented progressive metal act, came out with a new single called Say, a really cool, hard-hitting single with a really great chorus and really catchy and really enjoyable. Their new album, Theories of Emptiness, is coming out on June 7th. Coheed and Cambria had a standalone single come out called The Joke, which is on my list. It seems like this was written during the sessions of their 2022 album Vaxis Act 2. So definitely a cool little song. I like how they combine like their pop hooks and melodies with some little bits of prog and, you know, different quirky melodies and things, and it creates a really interesting mixture as well. And then Terra Maze, the Australian progressive metal group, have a new track called Step Right Up, which is a really beautiful track, and it's previewing their upcoming full-length album, Eli, A Wonderful Fall from Grace, coming out May 24th. So those are all of the items. I know a lot to take in. Hopefully something there interested you. As for the channel, I was really excited about this week on the channel. A lot of cool things that were put together. On May 5th, on mine and my wife's anniversary, we did a cool special video on our typical Prog Song Sunday where we talk about the 10 albums that changed Jana's life, some really interesting selections from her, if you're interested in her musical taste and her background. Not really typical of the type of music that I cover on the channel, but I thought an interesting look into her tastes, and I'm always fascinated by anybody's musical journey, whether they are into prog or different forms of music, so I really loved being part of that, and I think that's well worth checking out. I did a review of the Tangents record To Follow Polaris, which I really love. I think it's one of their strongest albums and really impressive, especially considering it's like all done by one mastermind, all done by Andy Tillison himself. So that's something to check out, that review, especially now that the album's out. You can see my thoughts on it and how they may line up or not line up with how you're feeling about the record if you've heard it. I also did kind of a special thought piece of talking about my feelings about vinyl collecting as a hobby and the increasing prices of vinyl and how that's going to affect me as a collector moving forward. I really was proud of that piece, more of just kind of an off-the-cuff, me just talking about how I feel and what I'm thinking at the moment. Please check that out if you haven't yet. I really would appreciate more views on that. It's a really cool video. And then I also put out a beginner's guide to Emerson, Lake and Palmer, which I was pretty excited about, just kind of a brief introduction to the band and my history with them and where I think a newcomer should start in their catalog. I have more Emerson, Lake and Palmer content coming. We have a reaction to the first side, most of the first side of Brain Salad Surgery with Jana on Prog Song Sunday. That's going to be a really fun one to show everybody. I'm also going to be doing ELP rankings this week, ranking their catalog, maybe having some controversial opinions on a few things. So hopefully you guys will, understand that it's my opinion and not come at me too hard. But I have some interesting thoughts about their catalog that I want to get out and do this week. And also some really cool album features this week. I want to talk about a couple things. The new Lemon Twigs record, I've really been digging, one of my favorites of the year. And then kind of a throwback to one of the big albums that meant a lot to me in my history of musical discovery. So a jam-packed week, just like last week, a lot of content coming out. I'm really excited to talk about it all with you guys, and hopefully you're enjoying the channel and what's been going on here. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Let me know in the comments any other items that you're aware of that I didn't cover here. There's always a wealth of things, and I just kind of cherry pick the things that are most interesting to me, so I'm sure there's other things that you guys are excited about in the world of prog, and please let me know. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I hope you guys have an excellent weekend, and enjoy the music, everybody. Bye.